Do you think you own the
All right.
clothes that you're gonna die in?
Hmm.
And if you do, would you like to know what outfit it is?
Interesting question.
Hey, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast, the podcast with strong opinions about things that we may or may not know too much about in order to broaden perspectives. Today's guest, Tuesday, Thursday, you know how we do it, two parts. We have Jim Eddy.
Eddie,
I didn't even ask you if you
former
wanted to be
Spurs
introduced
player,
like
right?
that.
It's all good, man.
Mr. Jim Eddy is joining us for Tuesday, Thursday. We're going to get to know what he's doing in his life. He's actually a fan of the podcast. I think more and
Oh,
more
yeah.
we're getting more fans on the podcast. So
Yeah.
that's badass.
And he's a Bruins fan. He's a Spurs fan. He's a Cowboy fan. We're gonna
I
get
will
into all
correct the
that.
record soon enough, Worm.
I see that Bills Mafia behind you.
Oh yeah, there's lots of sports talk we're going to get into
Yeah,
as
that
among other
scares
things.
me. But
I'm sure. Yeah.
All right, so let's get to it. Sit back, buckle up. Let's go. Too hard, too fast. Boom.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Well, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast. This is JimEddy, and boy, I have realized a dream of a lifetime. I have been a guest on this podcast, one that I have actually listened to several times. I actually know one of the dudes pretty well. I'm starting to know the other guys, so I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that I was able to actually be a part of this today. So thanks, fellas. Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. You're just drunk.
Of course, I wouldn't be saying that if I meant it.
The podcast of the century.
Right. Right.
All right, first question, Worm. What's the first question?
The first question is: I still can't find my glasses that I usually use. How do these look?
They look like you stole them from your sister.
All right, cool. Oh shoot,
Whoa.
no, there's no more glasses. What about my Morpheus glasses? Does this? No,
That looks pretty good on you. Yeah.
does it really, George? I don't think
Well,
George
I'm just
agrees.
being nice. Yeah.
He's the guest, so he has to be nice.
Yeah, I guess so. You don't have to be nice, Jim. You can go too hard, too
well,
fast here.
Don't get used to it. Don't get used to it. All right.
No, first question. What are you drinking? Drinking, Jim?
What am I drinking? I'm glad that you asked.
Yeah.
So tonight I decided, because I am a fan of the podcast, that's not just George blowing smoke, the good stuff off the high shelf. I'm going with the Glenlivet 12. A wee
Nice.
drop to wet me whistle as I handle the questions from you laddies. So that's what I'm pouring to get started.
Nice.
Nice.
What's the percentage? 40%?
I believe it's 40 proof. Let's check the label. It's definitely a 12-year. It's a double oak. Yep, it's 40%. Yep.
Okay. Where's it made?
Well, it's made in Scotland. And where in Scotland specifically? I wonder if they tell us where the Glenlivet is, where the factory is. The factory was founded in 1824.
Okay. Nice.
And I've been to Scotland, but I've not been to visit the Glenlivet brewery. Glenlivet.com, I guess, if we wanted more information. So,
All
but
right,
I
nice.
bought it. I bought it locally, and I bought it literally at the local Costco. So it's on the higher end of what I usually spring for, and I save it for me special occasions, like with you
Oh,
lads.
Nice. Well, that's
That's all. Thank you for considering us special. So,
Cheers.
cheers. Well, okay. Well,
cheers.
before we cheers, actually, you go
Well-
ahead and taste it or give us a review on it.
Yeah, explain the review, George.
Well, I
He's
think
a fan. He knows
being a fan of the
1.0 to 2.
podcast, I think I know the system. So
All right. What's the
I
criteria?
thought a little
Jim?
bit about this because clearly I have gone to Costco and I have purchased it. So would I do it again? Of course I would. I would need to have a fair amount of money with me because this is not an inexpensive bottle to procure. But I would give this, actually, because I am a fan of the older scotches. This is a young older scotch at 12 years. I would give this Probably a 1.8. Ranks pretty high for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
This is up there. I would more than walk across the street. In fact, I would and I did ride my bike to Costco to buy this specifically. So
Well, at this point, nobody likes to show off, Jim.
that's probably true. That's probably true. So I'll give it a 1.8.
A 1.8. I
Wow.
would agree. I haven't had the 12-year one. I've had the regular one before, and I really liked it. So,
yeah. And the 14, which is about $20 more, is almost worth the extra $20. It kind of depends on how generous you're feeling or how wealthy you're feeling, maybe not generous, and how much you really value that deep, peaty, smoky taste that you get in the 14 that you don't get as much of in the 12. So
nice. Well, I'm gonna join you in drinking a little bit of the hard stuff. I went and got myself. I've been wanting to try the Rocks tequila, Dwayne Johnson, the Teremana Tequila, hecho en Mexico. I got the Blanco one. I didn't want to go for like the Reposado because, I wasn't feeling that wealthy.
Sure.
But I've been wanting to try it. The Rock says he can sip on it, so I'm gonna see if I can sip on it.
Okay.
I'll put this here. It's 40%. I think it was about a little over $30 for it. So
okay, reasonable.
Ooh, it doesn't kick. It doesn't. Ooh, never mind. It kicks at the. It kicks
very
at the wrong
end.
time.
An aftertaste kick.
It's a good tequila, man. Based on other tequilas, I probably will give this a 1.78.
Whoa. Okay.
1.78. I would buy it again if I'm feeling like a little, if I get an extra stimulus check, I probably would buy it again.
Right. If you get another Biden bump, you might go again.
There you go. Yeah, we just need that an extra little bump on there. But I would buy it again. 1.78. That's my review on it.
Very good.
I think I can sip on it. We'll see. Maybe I'll just start talking in cursive all of a sudden.
What about you, Worm?
I'm embarrassed. You guys are drinking the hard stuff. So I just have a beer.
Well, that's okay.
All right.
We don't discriminate against beer drinkers.
All right.
We'll let you play with the big boys.
I'll go get my liquor right now.
There's room in the sandbox for all of us here.
I'll get some liquor in a little bit. But anyways, so I was trying to find the founders because Jim's in Michigan, so I wanted to get a Michigan beer. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it, so I shouldn't have drank it last week, but it's all right. So I found a beer. I got a beer that kind of resembles Jim. I don't know if you guys ever heard.
Oh, Voodoo Ranger. That's a Haze. That's American Haze.
Reminds me of you, Jim. You're a traveler. You play guitar.
Okay.
You're an American. So there you go.
Fair
Close enough.
Fair enough. And that's a Haze, so kind of a New England style, sort of a little hazy IPA.
American Haze. Yeah, it's in North Carolina. So only 5%. So let's. I've never had it before, actually. We're not this one specifically. So
okay.
We'll see. We'll see how that
goes.
goes.
To tell us what you think.
Man, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I gave it a. So I love the design. So Jim, I don't know if you recall, we also take into consideration how things look.
Sure.
So I think it's a really cool design.
That's a nice picture. Yeah, nice design, nice graphic.
Yeah, nice graphic. The alcohol content's a little low, but it's all right. Tastes good though. It was a fair price. I give it a 1.68.
Oh, nice. Okay. So we all have beverages that are pleasing to our palates, which is important. So very nice.
Yeah,
excellent.
Definitely.
Coolest.
All right, Jim. So we're gonna get into you now. So
all right.
Well, first, what's your favorite drink though? You have a favorite beer, favorite liquor, favorite mixed drink?
Yes to all three. So let's break it down a little bit. I do have a favorite beer, and it has changed a little bit over time. But in the moment, my favorite brew is actually made right here in Ann Arbor. So to give you an idea, I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and in Michigan we do this goofy thing with the hand to try to explain where in Michigan people live. So you put up your left hand. This is supposed to be the state. So I live down here in the base of the thumb in southeast Michigan. Way up here is the Upper Peninsula. This is northern Michigan. This is Lake Michigan, Lake Superior up here. I live way down here near Detroit, and then over here is Lake Huron, and so LaCroix County, where all the heavy coronavirus cases are right now. So anyway, I live down here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so in Ann Arbor, there are several actual local breweries. And when I moved here, I moved to Ann Arbor from Oregon, where I had been living for just under 20 years. I consider that my spiritual home, even though I was born in New York. We can talk about all that later if you want. But moved here in 2006 so my wife could go to school at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. So we came here. It was going to be temporary for her to get another master's degree. And then the idea was, at least my idea, was to go back to Oregon, which is where I wanted to continue to live. And we still owned our house back there. But it didn't work out that way. So that was 2006. So this summer will be 15 years we've been in Ann Arbor. And I had no idea that Michigan was such a great beer state. I had no idea that they were kind of this little hot pocket in the upper Midwest of microbreweries, but they are. I mean, you mentioned Founders, which is in the west side, where MJ, a person you and I both worked with in the past, where she's living in Kalamazoo. They have a couple of great microbreweries there.
Do you think she would mind that you mentioned her name? Or that we... Do you think she would mind that we leave her name in?
I'm not sure. I don't think we'll go with the last name, so we'll just keep it with initials and leave it open-ended maybe. But the newest microbrewery, and the one that I was drinking the other night when we were chatting, is made by a company called Mothfire Brewing. They've been around only a year and a half right here in Ann Arbor. And they make a variety of different beers, but the one that's my favorite, to get to the question, I guess, is they have an IPA that's double dry hopped. They don't just dry hop it, they do it twice at the end of the brewing process. And it has a pretty interesting taste. It's an IPA, and it's called Lolo. Lolo IPA, and it's double dry hopped. The ABV is average. It's like right around 7%, or maybe 6.9, something like that. So that's my favorite beer in the moment. In the old days, back when I used to drink mixed drinks or go to conferences and have to pretend like I had some taste, I would have the occasional gin and tonic. And so gin and tonic for quite a while was my favorite mixed drink. But to be honest, nowadays, when I'm talking about liquor, I'm very partial to the Scotch. It doesn't have to be the Glenlivet, but I prefer a single malt to a blend, and I prefer a Scotch to a simple whiskey. But I'm not that much of a snob. I'll drink whatever's put in front of me as far as that goes. But I have this whole fetish around Scotland. And for me, a lot of it is the music. I'm a musician part-time. I'm retired. I'm not really anything right now, but one of my hobbies is that I write songs and I record and I play music primarily on the internet through Zoom open mics. And so I have had this fetish with an appreciation for Scotland, particularly the Highlands of Scotland and the Shetland Islands, and also the Hebrides Islands to the west coast. And I've got several connections. I've been there only a couple times, but I have several connections, people that I correspond with. I have a Scottish singer who's going to be covering one of my songs, actually, as part of a fundraising thing that I'm doing with her. So anyway, I have a fetish for Scotland right now, and whenever I'm feeling particularly close to Scotland beyond the music, I like to break out the Scotch to further connect myself to the Highlands. So that's my answer to your question.
I think if you say fetish 3 more times, Worm might take off his shirt.
Wow. Well, if
I thought you were hinting at that, so that's why.
Boy, if only Zoom would let me mute somebody else's picture, but no, that's okay. I don't mind seeing Worm take his clothes off. I think it would improve your ratings, probably. So. I'm good with that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I did that one time, so.
I think, Worm, you've done it multiple times. You just remember.
You can only remember the one time.
I ate too many gummy ones, I guess. I don't know. So. Jim, there's so much I want to get into, but I guess first let's get into. So you're in Michigan though, but where were you born though? You said New York.
Yeah, I was actually born in Buffalo, in the city of Buffalo, New York, a long time ago.
You were raised there also?
In what's come to be known affectionately as the pre-internet era. I was born in Buffalo, New York, and I grew up in the inner city of Buffalo until I was 13. And then we moved right across the city line, literally 100 yards into the adjoining suburb that's called Amherst, that is right on the other side of Main Street from the University of Buffalo. So I've completed my high school at Amherst High, played basketball and football there, attended the University of Buffalo for 2 years, and played basketball for the University of Buffalo for 1 year as a freshman. And then I finished my education also in New York, but at one of the State University of New York sister schools in Cortland, New York, which is near Syracuse, kind of in the geographic center of New York State. But I'm originally from New York, but I was able to successfully flee New York after getting out of college, and I've never lived there ever since. I've lived and worked in 8 different states, 9, I guess, if we count Texas. I was there for about 9 months. So I guess
count Texas.
I guess that counts. We got to count that as well. But I was originally from Buffalo. I spent the best 20 years of my life in Portland, Oregon, though. So that's my spiritual home.
So, of course, I got to ask, out of all the states you've lived in, which one's your favorite? And it better be Texas.
No, I hate to disappoint, but I don't mind speaking truth to power.
We have our own electrical grid. We used to be our own republic.
You do.
One of the
you have some
states.
very unique things that you can be justifiably proud of. And you have some of that shit you just mentioned, too. But at any rate, by far, my favorite...
we got the Cowboys, we got the Spurs, we got the Dallas Stars.
Well, we could talk a little bit about the Spurs, but if we want to talk Cowboys, we're going to have to get real. But anyway, back to your question. Oregon as a state, and Portland is clearly the best place that I've ever lived, and that's kind of where I feel my heart is now. For example, I got married up at Timberline Lodge up at Mount Hood. So I have a visual aid for this. It's one of my shirts here. Figure out which one it is. I was actually married to my current wife. Sometimes I call her, when I know she's not listening, my trophy wife, as opposed to my starter wife. Okay, but at any rate, I've got the Portland shirt, right? But this is the Mount Hood shirt from Timberline Lodge. So this is the symbol for Timberline. It's a American Indian symbol. There's the crossed arrows. The MH is for Mount Hood. There's a fir tree, which is a Douglas fir, and that's 1937. That's the year that Franklin Delano Roosevelt blessed at the opening ceremony, the opening of Timberline Lodge, and there's Mount Hood down there. And then the little logo on the back, I'll put it up there so you can see it maybe, is Timberline Lodge. Okay. And Timberline Lodge, if you remember or if you saw the movie The Shining, okay, the Jack Nicholson movie, the Stanley Kubrick film, the outdoor scenes, the winter outdoor scenes as they escape the hotel, that's all at Timberline Lodge. The inside scenes was filmed at a different motel, I guess it's a hotel, in Colorado. But the Mount Hood is where all the cool action scenes were filmed outside. So I got married there in 2000. And when I die, assuming that'll be any day now, I'm going to have...
Oh, wait, you got the vaccine, so you should be okay.
Yeah, you never know. I'm going to have my ashes scattered up on Mount Hood. I've done the 40-mile hike around Mount Hood. I've done a lot of adventures. I've done a lot of kayaking up around Mount Hood. So... for me, Oregon, primarily because of the outdoor life, but also Portland is just such a neat, quirky city. For those two reasons, that's my favorite place.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'm a huge Portland Trailblazer fan. And, Spurs, there've been some classic contests between the Blazers and the Spurs over the years in several different eras of basketball. But I wonder, as a diehard Spurs guy, and I wonder, George, are you a Spurs guy? Do you follow basketball at all?
I'm not a big fan of basketball. I'll watch it I'll go to the games, but I can do with or without it.
Well, here's a trivia question. So this is a logo from a basketball team that still exists in the NBA.
I was gonna say the Seattle Sonics, the Super
not the Sonics. No, it is a relocated franchise, so you're getting warm. But this is a bee with a feather in it, and this is from the Buffalo Braves. 1970 inaugural year. They came into the league the same year that the Cleveland Cavaliers came into the league. 1970. Same year that the Buffalo Sabres came into the NHL. 1970. But
did you know that, George?
They were purchased by John Y. Brown, who was then and now an asshole millionaire from Kentucky, who claimed that he was going to keep the team in Buffalo. Within 6 months, he moved it out of Buffalo, and he moved it to San Diego, and they became the San Diego Clippers. And then they moved to L.A., and they are the Los Angeles Clippers. So when you see the Los Angeles Clippers, you're really seeing the original Buffalo Braves.
Wow. I didn't know that.
There you go. And I'm not a Clippers fan, but they are tearing up the West right now. They are.
And I know people are going to hate me for this because I know a lot of people, especially Spurs fans, they hate Kawhi Leonard. I'm still a Kawhi Leonard fan, so...
It's hard to hate on Kawhi.
So I kind of like the Clippers only because of Kawhi. So
well, Kawhi moved on and he wins another championship right away.
I know.
Come on now.
I'm happy for him.
So I'm when you brought up the fact that when you die, and I know this is gonna get a little dark.
Sure.
But it kind of like triggered. I was earlier this week. I posed this question to my wife. I said, do you think you own the clothes that you're gonna die in? And if you do, would you like to know what outfit it is?
Interesting question. And what did she say?
She said, "Fuck George, shut the fuck up and quit drinking."
Oh, dude, I thought you were asking Jim that. I'm all, dude, this is a fucked up question.
No, yeah,
I am gonna ask Jim that.
You're gonna
ask that.
I asked Jen that. Yeah. No, she did answer. She said, "I don't know. I don't have a lot of clothes anyway, so probably."
Well, yeah. No, I feel similarly in that when I die, assuming that it's through a tragic accident, it will probably be in some kind of outdoor athletic endeavor. So I'm imagining I'll be wearing my cross-country skis and the outfit that I wear when I'm outside cross-country skiing, and I'll probably take a wrong turn and go off the side of a fucking mountain or something. So yeah, I probably do own the clothes that I will die in. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, what do you think? You think you have the clothes right now, or you're still gonna? Because eventually you're gonna buy those clothes that you're gonna die in.
Well, I hope I die naked. I hope I die naked. The way I was born, I hope that's the way I die. Naked in the funeral and stuff. I just in the casket. I just want to be naked while everyone comes sees me. You know, and I don't want anyone to mourn. I want my funeral to be a big party. All right, I want everyone to be drinking, and I'm gonna provide the drinks. Hopefully by then they could download consciousness, so I'll be there interacting with people. You know what I mean? So.
It'll be like
you should make your coffin a cooler. So like when we go up to you to give you like the final goodbye, we grab ourselves a drink. Yeah.
You should make it. You should make it like this. You guys ever seen this thing called the fridge? It's a thing that you put in the freezer. It's got a little pocket of some kind of gel inside. So you put this in the freezer and get it nice and cold, frozen obviously, and then you take a warm beer and you stick it in the can, and it acts like a mini fridge, and it makes your beer really cold really fast. So to your point, George, and this is a great idea, and you could probably make some money in this idea, Worm, you got to order a casket that's designed with this technology so that as people pass by to view your naked body the way you want, they can stick their drinks in there, and if they're room temperature going in, they'll be ice cold in a matter of moments, and they'll be able to have that New Orleans jazz party that you want for your funeral. It'll be awesome.
That sounds legit. You know what, Jim? I think you just gave me another idea too.
Yeah.
If we order those and put the Too Hard Too Fast logo on it,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can make some money.
Absolutely.
I've never even heard of that. Have you heard of that mini fridge, George?
No,
It's called the fridge.
I guess we're not advanced enough here in the South, huh, Jim?
Drink cooler.
We're still behind.
We're still using koozies.
We're still using it.
Nothing wrong with a koozie. This is like an ultra-charged koozie. But, yeah, same idea.
Man.
Just makes it colder.
But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what Jen really said. She said, whatever clothes you're wearing on the outside, just hope you have clean and untorn underwear. And my thing was like, what does it matter at that point? At that point, I'm gone. So they can be making. She's like, but they're gonna make fun of you. It's like they can make fun of me all I want.
You're dead.
I'm not here anymore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, that goes way back. That notion of when you die, make sure you at least have clean underwear. It's like, who gives a shit? I'm dead. You know, what difference does it possibly make? You might.
If it was like a major accident, I'd probably poop myself. So
right, exactly.
what does it matter at that point?
All right, let's get back to the. You know what, Jim? You're still young, so it's all right. So I want to hear about your basketball days when you played basketball in college.
Yeah, I played through high school. I played on a very good team in the sense that it was a very successful high school team. We had the winningest coach in New York State history, that kind of thing. Dang. So I didn't play a lot in high school. Even as a senior, we had better sophomores than seniors that year. Wow. So I played, but I didn't play. I didn't get a lot of minutes. I lettered, but I didn't get a lot of minutes. So nobody thought that, at least nobody who I played high school ball with, including my coach, thought I had any chance of playing college ball. So I went on as a walk-on at the University of Buffalo, and I literally just kind of clawed my way onto the team. I actually started more college games than I did high school games.
Wow.
And this was a long time ago. This was in the mid-1970s. And the University of Buffalo was Division I, but they weren't Division I. They were Division I then, and they're still Division I. But now they play in the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, with schools like Toledo, University of Ohio, places like that. Where back then they didn't. They played mostly the small colleges around Buffalo. They played Canisius and Niagara and St. Bonaventure, and they would play Siena and some of the schools in the New York City area. But anyway, I played basketball, but I was limited because I tore up my knee. Not during my first year, but my second year before I could play, I tore my left knee, tore my meniscus.
Oh,
and this
I've done that too.
This was in the era before arthroscopic surgery was the primary way that you repaired that kind of stuff. I mean, high-end athletes were just starting to get arthroscopic procedures in the 70s. Bums like me were just getting standard open knee surgery. So I have like a 6-inch scar on my left knee, and I had what's called a bucket handle tear, where the cartilage tear is so bad that it wedges into the joint and you can't straighten your leg. It's like a bucket handle is keeping the bones from extending. So I had no choice. It wasn't like, get surgery someday. No, if you want to walk again, dude, you're going to get this thing taken care of. So I had surgery on the knee, and then I had a second one on that same knee, kind of a cleanup thing many years later. And in between, I tore the cartilage in my right knee. But anyway, I all of that was through all of my subsequent basketball injuries were recreational. I only played the 1 year of college hoops. I was a point guard. I was then and now. I mean, I'm just a shade under 6 feet tall, but I've always been the smallest guy, and I've always been the most aggressive guy. I'm like the Brad Marchand. People loved it when I was on their team, but people fucking hated playing against me. You know, and I don't blame them. I would not want to play
those dirty elbows into the crease.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, I threw elbows, but not dirty elbows, you know, and there is a difference. I mean, you can box out, and if somebody leans against you, you can kind of go, oh, gee, excuse me. Or you can go, fuck no, this is my spot. And that's what I would do. And that's not dirty, but that is aggressive. Okay, and so I was an aggressive player, and I'm not saying it was a smart way to be. A lot of my injuries, not just my knees, but my other injuries in basketball, were just doing stupid shit. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that would dive into the stands to save a ball in, and wind up, breaking a bone in my arm, that kind of thing. It's like, to what end? Well, I just didn't have any other way to play. I didn't have enough talent to get by and just kind of cruise up and down the court. I had to dive for every loose ball, box out everybody who's taller than me, aggressively knock people over and hope that they called the block instead of the charge, all that stuff, because I didn't have the ability. I was not a great athlete. I was just a decent athlete who was hyper aggressive. So
you had heart. You had heart. That's what you had.
What's that?
You had heart. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I had to go too hard, too fast, basically.
There you go. That's what we're all about.
Some would say the Milan Lucic of
yeah,
basketball.
there you go. That would be a proper analogy, probably.
And if you guys don't get those references, watch more hockey.
Watch more hockey, which is
you know what we haven't done? We haven't done a cheers. We
haven't done a cheers.
That.
Hey, cheers. Hey, to your college career, Jim, to going too hard, too fast in your college basketball years.
I'll drink to that.
All right.
Cheers.
So, Jim, staying in the subject of basketball, believe it or not,
yeah,
that's how No, I'm not gonna get into that. I'm just gonna get into how George and I met.
Oh no, okay. I wanted to get into that. Yeah. So I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
All right.
So
since we're talking dirty.
Yes, and we're talking dirty. I still disagree, but so Jim. So I was pledging for a fraternity, right? Mm-hmm. So George was already in this fraternity. I was pledging. So I was playing basketball with all the brothers, and I hadn't met George, or just I knew of him maybe, but that's about it. So we're playing basketball. Supposedly, it's because he sucks at basketball, right? So he thinks I tripped him intentionally, and so I tripped him, and I didn't. I just remember turning around and people are holding him back. I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, he wants to kick your ass because you tripped him.
Because this was the thing. Just how you can say, I'm boxing you out, or like, oh, get the fuck.
Yeah.
I suck at basketball. That's why it's not my sport. But I finally grabbed the ball. It was an open door all the way down. It's like pretty much like just walk it on in. But so I grabbed the ball and I dribble like this. So I'm running as fast as I can, and all I feel is, bam! Somebody just karate kids me and sweeps the leg.
Hey Jim, I had to be aggressive too. I was pledging.
So.
I had to impress these people.
Yeah. Clear path foul all the way.
Yeah. Anyway, George, what happened then? You scraped your elbow?
I fell. I rolled like a couple of times. I got all scratched up, and I said, you know what? This guy better be gone before I get on my feet.
And was this an indoor game or an outdoor game?
Outdoor.
That was outdoor.
Maybe even midnight.
Falling on your face on the outdoor court, that hurts. Yeah.
And it was a crappy court. Like they were like, it was gravel, loose rocks, and everything. Like I think there was probably like glass.
Wow.
Yeah,
not the kind of court you want to get
friends and
on.
Roommates and all that, and now a podcast apparently. So
wow. So somehow the relationship was able to sustain despite that ignominious beginning. Yeah.
Sometimes the best is the friends; they become their first enemies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Each podcast, he still sweeps the leg and just tries to knock you down.
I still call him a bitch from time to time. So it's
like... Terms of endearment, I'm sure. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Okay. Cool.
Anyways, Jim. So after college, what'd you do? So as far as I'm aware, I'm gonna let the people know you used to be my boss. You were temporarily in West Texas.
That secret out. That's true. I don't think of myself as your boss, but I guess technically that's what I was for a few months.
Then I wish I would have called in a lot more, but and George doesn't believe me, and a lot of people don't believe me, but I felt that the whole department relied on me a lot, so I felt like I had to be there. Was I exaggerating, or did you see that too?
No, if you weren't there, man, I would have gotten back on that plane like the first week. I mean, that place was such a shambles. No, I agree with you. I think that you held that place together, so I will grant you that.
Thank you. You see, George?
In terms of your question, I'll go with the travelogue here. When I finally got out of New York after getting my degree and my knee had healed, but I had a degree in physical education, my bachelor's. And I decided that I wanted to be or at least try being a phys ed teacher. But I also wanted to get the hell out of New York. I was just so sick and tired of it. We could talk about why if you want, but it's just not a place that I wanted to live anymore. And so I actually went out west with a car and a little bit of money, but not much, and an opportunity to possibly, not even an actual job, but the possibility of working with my cousins out near the north rim of the Grand Canyon in northern Arizona. So I literally went with my brother, who was along for the ride as part of the experiment, although he only lasted about a week or two and he got homesick and left. But I went out there to Arizona, and things worked out in such a way that I wound up working for my cousins and my aunt and uncle because they wound up buying a lodge, about a 20-room lodge with a gas station and a restaurant that was literally 11 miles from Lee's Ferry. Lee's Ferry is where the river trips start for the people who take commercial trips down the Colorado River on the big rafts. Okay, and so most of the money was made during the tourist season. So you made all your money in the summer, and it was actually pretty cold. This is way north of Flagstaff. It's way up by southern Utah. And I helped them establish this place called Cliff Dwellers Lodge. And I literally worked for room and board, no salary because it was a startup at that point. And I lived and worked out in Arizona for them for about a year. And then my girlfriend at the time came out to work there for one summer, and then we went all the way down south to Sierra Vista, Arizona. That's way south of Tucson, it's right outside of Huachuca City, which is a military base near Sierra Vista, and very close to Nogales in terms of a border crossing. And literally 19 miles from Tombstone, Arizona, where they had, the great shootouts and so forth at Tombstone. Crazy stuff. But anyway, I lived and worked out there, but I was wanting to teach originally physical education. And it turned out that the state I was trying to get established in, Arizona, they didn't require physical education in their curriculum. And so, as in many school boards, if they don't require it, they don't even have it. So there wasn't really a market. There was a market for coaches because they were crazy about football and other sports down there. And I coached football in high school, so I could do that. But it was hard to find a job. I did get a couple of offers on a couple of the Native American reservations, but it didn't work out for what I really wanted to do. So through that whole experiment out living in Arizona, kind of living those dreams, I decided to go back to graduate school. And I actually went to graduate school in 1980, pulled some strings and worked with a friend who helped set me up at Bowling Green State University, which is in Ohio, and it's literally about 70 miles from Ann Arbor. So it's this part of the country, actually, that I'm in now, where I went to grad school. So I went to grad school, graduated in 1 year. It's now a 2-year program, but graduated in 1 year. And then I worked at a variety of places in housing and student activities. And then I fell into financial aid in the mid-1980s when Ronald Reagan was president. And I've been doing financial aid ever since. So.
Wait, did you say what you went to grad school for?
I didn't say what I went to school for. It was for college student personnel administration, essentially higher education. Yeah.
Okay. So is that equivalent to like educational leadership today, what they call it, I guess?
There's a lot of different names for it. It's still called college student personnel at Bowling Green. Really? It's called higher ed administration at a lot of places like at Eastern Michigan. Student affairs doctoral program here at University of Michigan, but yeah, it's about working with college students and facilitating their development. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm still stuck on. I think this Teremana is hitting because I'm still stuck on Tombstone. And I was thinking of Wyatt Earp for a little bit.
Yeah, Tombstone's a crazy place. I mean, it's probably different now.
I don't think Worm knows who Wyatt Earp is. Worm, do you know who Wyatt Earp?
Wait, what?
Wyatt Earp.
Do you know who Wyatt Earp was?
Oh, hey, George, stay a little bit further back from your mic. Wyatt and Earp? Oh yeah, he's a hockey player. No?
No. It's you've never seen at least the movie Wyatt Earp or Tombstone?
Or you ever heard of the shootout at the OK Corral?
I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it.
Yeah, it's a little part of American West history, but the OK Corral literally is in Tombstone, and they probably do reenactments of it. But Wyatt Earp was a famous sheriff who was involved in that shootout in Tombstone, Arizona, and it's a funky little place, almost a very small place. And when I was there, almost everybody was drunk all the time in Tombstone.
I need to move there then. Shoot.
Literally to do. I think most people were day drinkers in the little bars there, and it was hotter than hell. It was kind of like the heat that you guys have.
Oh yeah.
Your part of the country in the summer.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, you'd be used to it.
You know what? I'm gonna move over there.
You'd be perfect in Tombstone, I think, Worm. Absolutely.
What are
you trying to say, Jim?
They would welcome you with open arms. If you can work remotely, let's face it, you might want to think about Tombstone.
Yeah, maybe. Shoot, day drinking sounds good.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of history there about Wyatt Earp and all that?
I bet you there is now. When I was there, which was, again, in 1980, 79, 80, it hadn't yet had many visitors. So there wasn't like a visitor center. You could still go to the OK Corral and walk around and look at it. It wasn't all fenced off. I bet you it's different now. But when I was there, it was still kind of the Wild West. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful desert. It's the high desert down there, the Sonoran Desert, south of Tucson. It's just beautiful, beautiful country. Because I know that you guys like the desert and you like the Southwest landscape. And if you like that.
Well, why? Because we're brown.
Right. That's got to be the only reason.
We're dark enough for it.
Yeah.
No, I'm messing around.
Have fond memories of the day drinkers of Tombstone. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So you would join them?
You know, I actually, I got to be honest, on the trips I went down there, I wasn't in a drinking mood. I was just wanting to see the sights, and then it was a 20-mile dirt road to get back to Sierra Vista the way I went. And so I was just lucky my car made it both ways, actually.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, that's part of the travel log, and I've worked a bunch of different states since then. But
So you've been in higher education for, well, you said since Reagan, so what's that, 20, 30 years?
Well, that's more than that. It's a long
40 years.
LFW, long freaking time. Let's see. I started in higher ed as a student employer. I was a resident assistant in the residence halls in the dormitories. That was in 1977. But I've been working full-time. I started working full-time in higher ed in 1981, and I retired in 2019. So whatever that is, 38 years maybe, something like that. And I'm still doing it. I'm retired in name only. I still do some consulting, as you know, where that took me down to Texas. Yep. But I'm doing some consulting right now, working half-time here in Ann Arbor in higher ed. So as much as I can, as much as I'm glad I don't have to do it full-time anymore, I still kind of keep my fingers in it.
Nice. So far I have 9 years working in higher education, believe it or not.
Really?
2 different universities, 1 community college. So right now, of course, at a university.
Right.
I've had a couple different positions. So I have a very important question to ask you.
Yeah.
Should I get a PhD or is it not worth it?
It depends. Do you want to make money or no?
I don't know if it's financially worth getting a PhD.
Right.
But do you think getting a PhD, moving up would make? Well, yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah,
more opportunity.
Sure.
You can make more money, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my opinion about it because it's a great question, and the answer is going to be different for each person depending upon what they want out of it.
So keep in mind, I don't want to go necessarily into the faculty side. I kind of want to stay on the administrative side.
Right. Well, that's an important distinction because if you had some illusion of going the faculty way in hopes of maybe becoming tenured and making a contribution to a teaching staff, those days are gone and they are not coming back. I'm not saying that no one will ever get a tenure track job again, but it's just not.
Yeah, they keep going part-time because it's cheaper. It's cheaper for a bunch of adjuncts. It's cheaper for whether
right. It's obviously right. So if you want to be
online, it's even more convenient to go adjunct.
If you want to be an adjunct or something, that's fine. But if you want to go into administration, and if you see yourself in educational leadership or a provost or a vice president or working in development or maybe working in a higher level administrative position that requires a doctorate, then yeah, you should definitely get the doctorate, because despite the short-term pain of the time and the money, it will pay off dramatically in the long run. But if you put all of your eggs in the teaching basket and hope for a payoff there, I'm afraid your plan would be flawed in my view. So if you want administrative leadership, if that's kind of where you're thinking about going, then yeah, I think you should do it, and doesn't have to be immediate, but sooner rather than later.
Okay, now another important question.
Yeah.
I do decide, all right, let me do it. Does it even matter what you get your PhD in? Because a lot of times I see VPs, they have a PhD in music, biology. Yeah. You know, you would think higher education, community colleges, it's a little different.
Right.
I guess you do see people go into higher positions with ed leadership. Well, here in Texas, they call it ed leadership, right?
Yeah, ed leadership.
I guess higher education or what. But at the university level, it doesn't really matter. It just seems like, well, I mean, it's diverse, I guess.
Yeah.
In terms of the subjects.
I hear you. And it's hard to predict the future, because just like work in general is changing, and some of it's going to permanently change because of the pandemic and people working remotely and that kind of thing. Higher ed is changing dramatically also. And it's unclear that the leadership positions 15 years from now are going to look like they do now. I'm not sure that they will, but I think that it does sort of matter what your PhD is in. The people who don't have a related PhD, what they probably are bringing to those jobs, unless you're just talking about an incompetent organization that'll hire anybody, okay, what they're bringing to it is relevant experience.
Which they exist.
Yeah, they definitely.
Jim has worked at one. I'm not going to mention
lots
names.
of them out there. Good point, George. There's a lot of them out there. But if you have decent experience, then you can have your PhD in something rather esoteric, and it won't matter. You would have met the PhD required thing. But I think more commonly, if organizations are trying to effectively do more with less, and all the other bullshit slogans that they throw out there, and they're looking for their leaders to squeeze more productivity out of a increasingly demoralized support staff, then I think it's going to be useful to have a PhD and maybe some PhD research in something that's somewhat related to your job. Because I think the days are rapidly ending where you might have a PhD in archaeology or something, but hey, we want you to be our dean of students kind of thing.
Hey, 2H2Fers, we're going to take a pause here with JimEddy. JimEddy is going to sing a song for us on Thursday.
Hell yeah.
We're going to continue talking a little bit more about JimEddy's travels around the world and his singing and his songwriting experience, which is pretty cool. When I met you before this podcast, didn't even think this is where we were going to take it. So I appreciate it.
I knew where we were going.
Nice. So
we're going up the mountains.
Come back on Thursday with JimEddy. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Worm, what are you going to say?
Oregon sucks. Come live in Texas. That's all I gotta say. JimEddy disagrees, but it's all right.
JimEddy disagrees. JimEddy's a diehard Oregonian in his heart.
And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, 2H2Fers, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Bye.
Está